FYI, you know why ghosts get pissed off a lot of the time? Because you humans are too noisy. Humans are noisy. Anyway, I said I would return with one of these little stories from young Mr. Vane's life, existence, what have you. This one will be from the school year 1988 to 1989. Young Vane's 8th grade year, junior high. School he attended held 7th graders and 8th graders. Nothing more. And FYI, as pretty much throughout Mr. Vane's school years, he was the smallest one in his entire grade. He was as small as, even smaller than most of the 7th graders that were, about a year younger. That is relevant to the story. Young Vane's life, his small size throughout his school years is typically very relevant to these stories. And that'll probably give you some idea about the nature of a lot of these stories. Young Vane had a shop class, like so many young men do during their junior high and high school years. It was all boys in this class. Whatever an average class size is out in the Midwest. Or more Mid-East. Anyway. It was at a time when, for whatever reason, the instructors were not in the class with the boys. But they were not in the regular shop class part, like where the work area was. They were in what was called the drafting room, where, of course, as the name suggests, it's all tables and stuff for drafting. Whatever it was they were having to do, they were not doing, or whatever. Boys will be boys, kids will be kids. And when the cat's away, the mice will play. Now, it happened that classmate, and actually, considered friend of young Vane. Vane got along pretty much with everybody, generally speaking. He was, most of the time he was just too quiet to really piss anybody off. And of course he's real small, so picking on him would have been kind of, I think, in a lot of people's minds, cowardly and just bullyish. However, there was a kid in the class who, there's nothing wrong with him. He's a nice kid. I got along with him. But, he was that kid that drew ridicule, attention from many of the other kids. And on this particular day, he had drawn the ridicule type of attention from a kid named Doug. I hope I'm not confusing you. Yes, the kid Doug, the guy who was a friend I'm confusing myself. Any rate, Doug was giving Vincent a hard time. An incredibly hard time. A stuck in the corner, Vincent really was tired of the game type of hard time. Now, I wouldn't consider Doug a bully at all. Typically, he was a really, and hopefully is, a really nice guy. But he was a bigger kid, and out in the Midwest or Mideast, out in the rural areas, there's that male type of roughhousing type deal. Typical kid stuff for the 80s. Anyway, well, of course, none of the other kids really were giving a crap about what Doug was doing to Vincent, but the situation wasn't looking very fun for Vincent. And I think, well, that was at least I noticed. So, Mr. Vane, being Mr. Vane, young Vane, just the way he is, he was fed up with the growing torment. So he told Doug to stop messing with Vincent. Doug, leave him alone. Just leave him alone. Of course, now, young Vane has Doug's attention. He does stop messing with Vincent, but boys being boys, he's not going to have some punk-ass kid, especially the smallest kid in the entire school, well, entire grade, telling him to stop messing with some other kid. Now, Miss Vane just stood in front of Doug, hands to his side, looking straight up at him, full height that he could manage. And he says, "What, are you going to hit me now? Are you going to hit me? Go ahead, punch me. You want to punch somebody? You want to mess somebody? Punch me." I may be elaborating, but that's the gist of what was said. And Doug honored young Vane's request and punched young Vane straight in the chest. Little breastbone, all that. And it was all over. Mr. Vane did not fall down or anything. He just took it. But he took it like anybody takes having the wind knocked out of you. A sudden loss of oxygen, your lungs collapse, you can't breathe. You feel like you're dying almost. And for a younger kid not used to that kind of thing, despite other events, but that's beside the point. Young Mr. Vane was forced to seek the nurse's office to make sure he wasn't going to die. Shortness of breath. Young Vincent, the guy, the original victim of the, whole ordeal, helped young Vane over to the nurse's office. And of course, the nurse is going to ask young Vane what happened and stuff. And Vane told told her, explained the situation. Fortunately, it didn't escalate into anything beyond that. A day or two later, Doug, who had other classes with young Vane, asked young Vane why young Vane told on him. Okay? I would think the same thing. I would definitely think the same thing. But Mr. Vane said, I couldn't breathe. I thought I was going to die or something. I had to go to the nurse. And that was the end of it. They still remained friends. And, well, Doug never really picked on Vincent anymore. And I don't know what he thought of Mr. Vane, but they were still friends. What is the point of the story? Other than making Mr. Vane look really, really honorable. No, that's it. Just defending people who are in a position where they can't defend themselves so much. And what Mr. Vane really understood about this is that defending people can be dangerous. Bye 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 bye.